Hi everyone. I wanted to talk through what we have in store for the left navigation for the 14.0 release. It's kind of spread between multiple issues and epics, so I wanted to just record this and make sure that it's clear what our goals are and how we got here. So based on the research that we've been doing over the past few milestones, some of it's still in flight and we're validating a few other things ongoing, but the goal overall has been to increase the overall usability of the left navigation and findability of various features. So we've identified several changes that we can make to the information architecture, as well as some UI and UX patterns that we can update to improve the left navigation. We're trying to bundle this all into the 14.0 release to reduce the amount of churn and change that happens in that left navigation. It can be a little disruptive if things are moving every month. So we're going to work behind a feature flag and make some changes, roll it all out in 14.0, and hopefully improve the overall usability in a pretty dramatic way. So the largest and most visible change will be related to the actual categorization of some of the left navigation items. We ran some card sorting tests and found that the overall success rate for our proposals varied. So we had some assumptions that we had to rethink because the findability was actually lower. But the ones that were clear wins, we've documented and we plan on implementing, specifically around breaking up the operations menu and moving a couple top level items around. So this is an example of what it's going to look like. You can see monitoring and infrastructure are sections that don't exist now. We've moved members under the project information, and there's a few other small changes here as well. The other thing we're going to do is work on simplifying some UX patterns, specifically around how the menu handles links and the parent menu items. So the most clear example in this issue refers to the requirements that has like a top level item and a list view. Those both go to the same place right now. They're a little repetitive and unnecessary. So we've got a proposal for some UI changes that'll simplify that, especially when it's in the collapsed mode. So this is also probably most prevalent here at the home page for the project. So right now this project overview actually has 3 different places that you can get to it, and they take up the top 3 links in that left nav. The GitLab project name, as well as the project overview and the details link, all go to the same place when you click them. It's a little repetitive and takes up an awful lot of vertical space. So we've got some patterns to simplify that. At the same time, we're looking to improve the overall UI and styling to introduce a little more contrast and separation from the body content, reduce visual noise, but maybe most importantly, reduce the amount of vertical space so that it's more likely that you can see all the items at once on a normal size screen. And you can see kind of the overall effect of all of this in this Figma file here, and you can see what we're proposing with the left nav right here. So you'll notice that we've got, our deployments and monitoring infrastructure categories. Those are relatively new. We've got a new styling. We've got more consolidated vertical spacing, and you can see here the difference between the two is pretty dramatic. So everything can fit on an overall 13-inch MacBook screen, whereas now you have 4.5 items that are cut off, and one of those items being settings, which can be very important, and you may not even know that we have them there. So on the topic of settings, we're going to try and introduce a couple other changes into the left nav. Because settings lives on the left nav, it's probably important to highlight here. Related to settings, one of the big friction points that we've identified that we have a very clear MVC to solve is that merge request settings are difficult to get to. They're buried under general. So we're just going to create a new top level merge request section under settings. And this will make it much easier to get to, as well as make it so that we can target it using an actual URL rather than a path to the general settings. We've also talked about, I don't have a mock-up for this right now, but moving some settings into the left navbar alongside the features themselves. This issue is for CI/CD, but we're also considering it for repository and merge requests. And this will be an experiment. What we would do is introduce a link into the left nav that actually just links you into settings right now, because the actual implementation of it, where you would break up the monolithic settings view, it would take a significant amount of effort and not be ready for 14.0. So we're going to try out an MVC where we link to settings from the left nav and sort of deep link into that settings view and see how it helps. That's all I wanted to highlight. There's a little bit more in there in the issues and epics, but if you have any questions, feel free to visit the issues or hit me up in Slack. Thanks a lot.